Chani, monologues, and welcome to yet another episode of Hlobee's Hive. What it do, what it does. My name is Hlobee Mahlangu, and if you are tuning in for the first time, I want to give you a huge shout out and welcome to this amazing family. I hope that you will enjoy today's episode and that you will not hesitate to click on that subscribe button to become a part of this amazing family. And if you are a returning subscriber, I want to say welcome back and thank you so much for your continued support. Now today we are getting into the segment acting tools with Hlobee, something that I think we haven't had enough of, and I thought, you know what, let's get into it. So today we have a monologue Monday, which is a rare occurrence these days, but it's a different kind of monologue Monday. Usually on monologue Mondays, back then when I still did it, I would do monologues, share some monologues with you guys and some thoughts on those monologues. And today I want to give you the tea. I want to give you some tools on how to tackle a monologue. So that's what we are doing today. We are addressing what do I do with a monologue, right? Because I know it can get quite overwhelming sometimes when you have an audition or you're working on a new character, on a new play, on a new production, and you're just overwhelmed with how to do or deliver a particular monologue. So today we are talking all things about that and equipping you so that you're ready to show up and shine bright like the star that you are. Now, do not hesitate to like, to subscribe, to comment, to ask more questions, to share this episode if you think it will be helpful to someone that you know. But of course, before we get into all the nitty-gritties of today's topic, we will pass there by the word of the day. You know that we do not do anything without getting into the word, right? And we find today's word in the book of Genesis 1 verse 26, a word that I believe we all need to be reminded of more regularly, right? And this is how it reads. It goes, "Then God said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth," right? Why am I reading this word to you today? Because I want to remind you that you have been given dominion. You have been given authority by God, right? There's nothing that rules over you but God, right? You have authority, you have dominion over everything. You command your situation, you command your life, you give allowance to what has victory over your life or what doesn't. And so I just wanted to give the power back to you that you are who God says you are. You are what the word says you are. You dominate, right? You are the head and not the tail. So always remember that. Do not give up your power when you're facing opposition, when you're facing obstacles, and forget that you have dominion, okay? It's up to you how you take on whatever it is that you are facing, right? And that's on period. I hope that you found that word helpful, right? So let's get into the topic of discussion, monologues, right? Let's start with the big question. What is a monologue? Now, I went on to Google to try and find, what Google says, because I feel like immediately when you get a monologue, that's the first thing you do, right? And just see if it's helpful enough and pair that with my understanding of what a monologue is, right? So what I found, the first thing I found on Google when I searched is that it says monologue is a speech by one actor in a play or a film. That's not helpful. I don't know if it's helpful to you, but I don't think it's helpful to me, or at least I don't think it's helpful enough to help you do your best with your monologue, to understand what it is in order to do your best with it. It's just information as to, okay, what is this thing, right? So here's by the way, I'm going to be looking down every now and again to check on the notes that I've written down for you to make this as informative as possible. Right. So this is my understanding of what a monologue is, right? So it is a chunk of text, so a long text that is delivered by an actor in a play or in a film, right? And it is not just a long text, it is said by one actor, right? And also it has information that will drive the story forward, right? It will either reveal or explain things that have taken place before that moment, or things that will take place, or it gives more information about the character itself or another character. So basically that is what a monologue is all about. You know, it's a piece of text that gives more information into what's happening in the story at that moment, what happened before, or you just have a basic understanding of what is happening so that you understand what's to come, right? So basically that's what a monologue is, right? Back in the day, it would be described as a soliloquy in the days of Shakespeare, right? So it would basically be a character explaining, you know, how they're feeling, you know, about what has just happened or what is about to happen, or a big decision that they need to make, you know? So it's this very emotional piece of text that is delivered by a character in a play that gives us insight into what's going on, right? So when will you come across a monologue? So you can get a monologue if you are in a play or in a film and you have this task of, you know, saying a piece of text that does what I just said it does. Or you could be asked to prepare a monologue for an audition, or they could send you a monologue along with the brief for an audition, right? Monologues are usually required for theater play auditions. I know sometimes you do get them for TV auditions or film auditions, but I think most of the time, well, for me, I've gotten them for theater productions. And for film and for TV, you will get more of like sides. So it will be more of a dialogue where you have to have someone read back to you. So you don't usually get, I haven't gotten like a huge monologue when auditioning for a film. But a monologue you will have to prepare if you are in a play, and yeah, you come across a part where your character needs to deliver a monologue, or when you get it for an audition. Now, it is a bit harder with an audition because you probably then don't know what is happening before this time in the monologue or what happens afterwards. So in that instance, we'll get into that. I was just giving you instances when you will come across a monologue. So that's how you come across a monologue. It's either you're in a production and you're preparing this character and you have this huge monologue and you're really having a difficult time just seeing how you can tackle it and perform it to the best of your ability, or you're going to do it for an audition and you also just want to shine and you want to do your best on that monologue. So what then do you do? What are the first things to do when you come across or you get a monologue, right? So number one, you need to find out if you understand. So you need to find meaning for the monologue. You need to understand what this monologue is about, right? So finding meaning comes in different levels. A, you need to understand the language, exactly what you're reading. So if your monologue says the sun was shining bright on that day and I felt so hurt by what you said, right? This is a typical example, right? So you need to find out if you know what the sun is. You need to find out if you know what it shines bright means. So basically meaning on a basic level, and meaning in the sense of, do you understand the words? Do you understand the things that are being said in that monologue? Are you understanding the grammar in that monologue? So that is the basic standard or basic first step to understanding or making meaning of your monologue, right? Then B, a next level of making meaning or understanding your monologue is background. So like I said, as I was about to get in and get ahead of myself, you need to understand what happened before. Why is this character in this situation? Why is this character saying this? Who is this character saying this to, right? And what does this mean for the next moment in the story or in the play, right? So you need context, you need background as to what's happening. Why is this person saying this? How are they feeling? So it's the background behind what's happening in this situation. Why are you saying this? And then another level, C, is another level of making meaning and understanding of your monologue, is subtext. Maybe you've heard it if you're an actor. If not, subtext is an underlying meaning to what is written. So it's basically it's what is being said without being said. So it is basically the intention or the drive of what you are saying. So you could be saying, I hate liars, but what are you really saying by saying I hate liars? Are you saying don't lie to me? I think you're lying to me. I know you're lying to me. So that is what subtext is. It's like, what exactly are you saying? What exactly do you mean by what you're saying, the intention behind the text, right? So first thing you do with a monologue, you need to find the meaning. So A, basic meaning, so understanding what the words mean, understanding the grammar. B, understanding the background, understanding what happened before, understanding why you're saying this, who you're saying it to. C is understanding the subtext, so the intention behind what you are saying, right? So as I was saying before, if you're getting your monologue from a brief for an audition, you may not have necessarily all the information, especially when it comes to background, right? As to what happened before, what's going to happen after. If this is the case, you make it up. You make it up because the whole idea around knowing the meaning is so that it's realistic to you. You believe what you're saying. That is very important to you. You believe what you're saying in your monologue, right? So if you don't have information about what happened before, who you're talking to or whatever, then you need to make it up in a way that makes sense to you, but also that makes sense to the monologue. Don't now go to an extremes of the monologue is saying something about hi, Father, I'm here today to confess my sins. And then you make up the whole scenario to be like you're in a bar somewhere, right? So it needs to connect. So it's a way of making it real to you and realistic to you, to be like, oh, okay, so this person is saying this because this happened. I understand that. I can relate to that. So that's the whole gist of why you need to make meaning of the monologue, right? I hope that's helpful. Moving on to the second thing that you do when you get a monologue. Number 2, you need to establish your beats, right? What is a beat? So a beat basically is like a shift in the thought process of the character or the emotions behind the text itself or whatever. So it's a shift. It's the different shifts that happen. Obviously, even when you speak, you say things differently. At some point you're making a joke, at some point you're serious, at some point you're shocked, at some point you're anxious. So there's different shifts within a piece of speech or a piece of text. So that is what a beat is. A beat is establishing, okay, in this line, it's basically going line by line by line in a monologue to establish, okay, in this line, this is what's happening. This character is scared. In this line, this character is happy. In this line, this character is, But it is not just that. Sometimes you may not get that from just lines. It also gives way for you to get creative. It also gives way for you to say, okay, this is how I'm going to deliver it. This character is sad here. This is how. So it gives way for you to sort of bring a certain level of creativity as an actor into your monologue. So let's say, what's a typical line? Oh, it's not a threat. That's not a threat. That's a promise. That's a line that is there in almost every other play or movie. It's not a threat. It's a promise. So you could say it comically. Oh, it's not a threat. It's a promise. Oh, that's not a threat. It's a promise. You know, so a beat is something like that. It's the different shifts and how you're going to deliver it and how it's going to resonate with your monologue. All right, so there you have it. The second thing that you need to establish is beats, and also just creating creativity into, now that you found that this line, this character is sad or angry, or then you need to choose, okay, how am I gonna interpret this? How am I gonna play it as an actor? Number 3, speech pattern. So this is how then you use your voice to take your monologue to the next level. So this is your intonation. Hello, hello, hello. So it's how you're using your voice, different in intonations, also pitch, also breath has a lot to do with this. Breath is a very important thing for an actor, but we'll get into that another day. So if you're scared, you know, oh my God, you're speaking fast, you're breathing, you're breathy. If you're scared, is that what, like, you know, like, so you use breath differently. So if you're fearful, you know, yeah, so that's basically it. The speech pattern. Are you speaking fast? Are you speaking slow? Now this helps to break monotony as well in your, it works along with the beats. It breaks monotony in your monologue, so that you're not saying your monologue in the same way throughout, which may mean your audience may end up losing you or getting bored. But with speech pattern, you can be fast at some point, slow at some point, maybe because you're thinking of something or whatever. So a speech pattern works nicely with beats to establish, okay, at this point in the monologue, they're remembering a memory, so they're going to slow down to sort of think of what happened, and they're going to breathe more slowly, stuff like that, right? So you establish some, so along with beats, you then, once you've gotten your beats and you've established what is happening in each line, then you assign speech pattern. How am I saying this? Am I saying it fast? Am I saying it slow? Am I breathing fast? Am I breathing slow? Stuff like that. And then the 4th thing that you need to look into when you get a monologue is performance, right? So you want to lift the words of this monologue, and you want to breathe life into them. You need to carry them. You need to live them. You need to make them realistic and real and own them as well. So you go over it over and over again, and you look at, okay, if I was in this situation, how would I act? How would I feel? What would I do? So this also has a lot to do with like your facial expression, also some of the gestures. Gestures are things that we'll talk about also when we talk about characterization when it comes to acting. But yeah, like basically giving performance into your monologue. How am I acting this out? Are my eyes wider? Are my eyes dim? Am I looking away? So it's like the performative elements, the drama that you give into your monologue. The 5th and final thing is fun, right? Once you've established all of these things, play around with them, right? To make your monologue fun and interesting each and every time you go into it. Because especially if you are doing in the rehearsal process of a production, it may get boring, you know, delivering a monologue the same way over and over again. So once you've discovered all these elements about your monologue, try play around with it, you know, play around with an element that comes from the background. Okay, maybe this person just came from a run, so this will influence how they are breathing, you know. So play around with the or maybe this person just woke up, so obviously their voice is a bit But how does that play in with the fact that they're sad? So play around with all those elements to find different layers and different textures to how you deliver your monologue, and keep exploring that so that you have fun with it, you don't get bored with it. That way, even us as your audience, we don't get bored with it, because each and every day, if you're in a production, if it's a week run of a production, each and every day you're saying it differently, but still it delivers the same intention that it needs to deliver, and it holds the same meaning that it needs to hold, right? I hope that you enjoyed today's episode, and I hope that this will help you in your next audition, in your next role, at your next show, and I hope that this has been helpful. Remember to spread love, light, and positivity. Do subscribe, like, and comment. See you on the next episode. I love you.